Listen, I gotta show you guys this crazy 6'9" lockdown defender build because I genuinely feel like this is the best defensive build in the game. You can lock down guards on this build, you can lock down bigs on this build, and before we get into this video, I want you guys to comment down below and tell me what you guys think is the best height for a defensive build in this game. But with all of that out of the way, man, let's get started. Let's go. But before we get started, guys, remember it is summertime and it is getting pretty hot outside, so you want to make sure you stay cool, you want to wear some comfortable clothes, and there would be nothing better to wear than these really great shorts that you could buy at pristinejerseys.com, which is my sponsor, and the link is going to be in the description. All right, so let's talk about this build really quickly. It's going to be pretty simple to make. You're going to make this at the power forward position. You can make it at center, but it's really best to make at power forward. And then when it comes to the body settings, it's going to be very simple. Height 6'9", weight 210 pounds with a 7'7" wingspan and a defined body shape. And for today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys two different versions of this build. The first version is going to be a version that I am using, and then the second version is going to be a slightly different version, and I'll explain the difference between those two when I get to that point. So let's take a look at this current version. Obviously, the finishing is going to be pretty bare bones because we want to have as much possible on the defensive end, so we're only going with an 80 driving dunk. But that 80 driving dunk is going to do way more than you would think because you're going to get silver limitless takeoff, quick drops off one dunk package, straight arm tomahawks dunk package, and you're going to be able to dunk from a very far distance away from the basket, even with only having your finishing upgraded so little. And then when it comes to the shooting, it's going to be very simple. A 71 mid-range shot and an 82 three-point shot, but it's going to get us enough badges to get 17 shooting badges, which will allow us to get our tier 3 shooting badge on gold, which is catch and shoot on this build. We wanted to make sure we got 17 so we could put all of our extra badge points into defense, and that's pretty much it. You're gonna be a knockdown catch and shoot guy. You could also take some shots off the dribble as well with that 82 three-pointer. But now let's move on to one of the things that makes this build pretty special, which is the playmaking. You're actually going to get a 76 pass accuracy on this build, which is enough for the LeBron James passing style, which is one of the best pass styles in this game. And you're also going to get break starter on gold, which is very nice to have as a big man when you're grabbing rebounds and throwing outlets in transition. And then one big thing that makes this build different from previous versions of this build in older 2Ks is we actually did upgrade the ball control on this build to an 80. This is going to get us access to the Russell Westbrook moving crossover, which is one of the most broken animations in this year's game, and most likely will not be in next year's game, which is why I'm showing two versions of this build today to kind of get your guys' minds ready for 2K24, because there's a really good chance that they're not going to have the Russell Westbrook moving crossover next year, because that was an animation that was actually not even allowed to be used in the 2K League. Usually whatever they do in the 2K League will somehow, some way transfer over to 2K24. So I think there's going to be a really good chance that animation will be gone next year. So we're going to be looking at more of a traditional back-end power forward build right now. And speaking of that traditional build, here it is right here. Now we're going to transition over to this version of the build simply because the defense on both versions of these builds are the exact same the way that I'm showing you guys. If you do want to make a version of this build that takes away the mid-range shooting abilities that I added after removing the ball handle, put those into defense, you're more than welcome to do so. But this is more than likely how I am going to make the build when 2K24 does come out. I'm probably not going to put any ball handle on the build to make more of a traditional back-end build, maybe even lower the mid-range shot just a little bit and get more defense. But speaking of that defense, we're going to get an 84 interior and 88 perimeter defense, which is going to get us Hall of Fame menace as well as silver clamps, which is really nice to have on this type of build. Then one of the big things that separates this build from a lot of other things is you get that 90 steal on this build with the maximum wingspan, which is going to get you access to gold interceptor, which is an insane badge this year. And then speaking of crazy badges, you're going to get a 99 block on this build, which will get you Hall of Fame anchor, which makes you one of the best rim protectors possible. And just to quickly run through all of the physicals, we're gonna have an 81 speed, which is the maximum, 75 acceleration, 76 strength, which gets us silver brick wall, 85 vertical, and a 95 stamina. That 85 vertical is super essential to get you more blocks and rebounds. And then let's talk about the takeovers really quickly. You have a lot of options, although you have the sharpshooting, lockdown, rim protecting, and glass cleaning takeovers that you could use on this build. And the takeovers that I have been experimenting a lot with recently are enhanced jump shot contest. They usually double up on takeovers that increase your physicals, which lock take does, because instead of getting a +8 speed in takeover, I'm getting +15, which allows me to just move faster around the court. And it also boosts your perimeter defense, your steal, which it just makes you a more well-rounded defensive player. And then on this version of the build, you're gonna get the name two-way stretch glass cleaner. And now let's move on to the gameplay, which we had some pretty solid gameplay today on this build. All right, so let's take a look at some of this gameplay. And listen, we're gonna be playing in the rec center for pretty much the rest of this year. Don't ask me for any more pro-am content at this point in the year. Definitely once the game starts up again with 2K24, we're gonna be pumping out some pro-am content, and I definitely want to play back end as well. It's starting to become one of my favorite positions to play because it is also very difficult to play on defense. Speaking of defense, let's talk about it really quickly. What is the best defensive build in 2K? A lot of people would say, oh, the 6'6" and 6'7" locks that can get a 99 steal and they clamp up guards and get really high perimeter. Usually have like 99 perimeter as well. Hall of Fame clamps, Hall of Fame challenger, Hall of Fame glove. That's usually the build that people tend to gravitate towards when it comes to picking out what build is their favorite when it comes comes to playing on defense. I genuinely think these like 6'9" and maybe 6'10" like wing players that can get versatile and play really good perimeter defense as well as interior defense are the best defensive builds in the game. Like, let's say hypothetically speaking, there was a challenge proposed to you, and the challenge is basically you have to get a stop on ones, but you don't know what you're guarding. You have no idea what they're bringing out. It could be a 6-1 play shot. It could be a 7-3 post score. You don't know, but you had to choose one build to give you the best bet on getting a stop. And for me, I'm choosing this 6'9". The versatility of this build is what makes it so special. I mean, there is a very good reason as to why these 6'9" backends are the #1 go-to build to make when you're playing power forward in Pro-Am. They're just so versatile on the defensive end. You can step up and guard guards. You can bang down low with some bigs because you're gonna have really good defense. Even if those bigs are 7'2", 7'3", you're definitely gonna be able to get stops because at the end of the day, you have high interior and high anchor, which is what I think makes these type of builds the best defensive builds in the game. Now listen, if you guys want to comment something in regards to that, maybe you disagree, put that in the comment section down below. Let's start a little bit of a conversation about what we think is the best defensive build in the game. I genuinely think it's these 6'9" builds. And speaking of comments, I know there's going to be some person, some inside center that's going to see this video and say, oh, well, I'm going to get on my 7'3" and I'm going to drop 30 on this tiny 6'9" big man, you know, and complain about how content creators are ruining 2K and forcing everybody to make these meta 6'9" builds. No, listen to me. This is the best defensive build in the game. You could bang down with those 7'3s. I have yet to play somebody in rec on this build that is using a 7'3 that drops let alone 15, okay? You're gonna get stops. People are going to close at before they can get to 10 points because they're gonna think that they could just go up with the dumbest things in the world against this 6'9" build because, oh, I'm just taller than them. But I have 99 block, I have Hall of Fame anchor, I'm an elite rim protector, and you have to respect that. I think a perfect example of someone who fits this mold perfectly of being like an undersized big who is an elite defender, especially in the interior, is Bam Adebayo, who is the starting center for the Miami Heat, who went to the NBA Finals, blah, blah, blah. Everybody knows how that went, right? But it's his versatility on defense that makes that defensive unit for Miami so special. He's able to switch out onto the perimeter and guard guards, bang down low with bigs. And granted, I mean, he slowed down Jokic to some degree at some points, but then again, Jokic is literally one of the best players in the world. If he wants to get a bucket, it doesn't matter who's guarding him, he's going to get that bucket. And then one thing I really do want to touch on very quickly is that this build is also by far one of the best big builds that you can make for Park as well. So if you are for some reason looking to make a build in July for NBA 2K23, this is definitely going to be your best option for playing as a big, because you can play center in Park, whether it's 2s or 3s, and pretty much do everything you're expected to do. And then if you're playing in the rec center, you can definitely play power forward on this build without any issue, even small forward because of the versatility that you have when it comes to the defensive end. And then the other really great thing is that if for some reason you get switched to the center position, you can do that as well on this build. Not going to be the greatest experience in the world, but you can get the job done because you are just fantastic on defense on this build. That's going to be it for today's video, man. I hope you guys enjoyed, but I'm out, man. Peace.